Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishratito Membawa Sutokayo Membawa Supokayo Membawa Anurato Membawa Sarva Siddhim Mempreyacha Sarva Karma Suchame Chitam Shreya Guruhum Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Muncha Vajre Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Anupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishtadhito Membawa Sutokayo Membawa Supokayo Membawa Anurato Membawa Sarva Siddhim Prayaja Sal. See if Kim will go first a chair. Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Muncha Vajre Bhava Maha Samaya Sato Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Anupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishtadhito Membawa Sutokayo Membawa Supokayo Membawa Anurato Membawa Sarva Siddhim Mempreyacha Sarva Karma Suchame Chetam Shreya Guru Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Muncha Vajre Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Anupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishtadhito Membawa Sutokayo Membawa Supokayo Membawa Anurato Membawa Sarva Siddhim Mempreyacha Sarva Karma Suchame Chetam Shreya Guru Hom Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Punja Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishtadhito Membawa Sutokayo Membawa Supokayo Membawa Anurato Membawa Sarva Siddhim Mempreyacha Sarva Karma Suchame Guru Hong Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Muncha Vajre Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Nanupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishtadhito Membawa Sutokayo Membawa Supokayo Membawa Anurato Membawa Sarva Siddhim Mempreyacha Sarva Karma Suchame Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Muncha Vajre Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Anupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishtadhito Membawa Sutokayo Membawa Supokayo Membawa Anurato Membawa Sarva Siddhim Mempreyacha Sarva Karma Suchame Chetam Shreya Guru Hong Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Muncha Vajre Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Anupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishtadhito Membawa Sutokayo Membawa Supokayo Membawa Anurato Surato Membawa Sarva Siddhi Mimpreya Cha Sarva Karma Suchame Chitam Shreya Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawa Sarva Tata Gata Bajrama Me Muncha Bajre Bhava Samaya Sato Good afternoon and welcome back. In case you don't have the sadhana, maybe some of the volunteers can help make sure each of you have a copy of the Simhamukha Sadhana. So His Holiness gave the reading transmission of this sadhana. So in case, you need to pass on the reading transmission, according to the rules, you have the requirement because His Holiness was actually able to give the reading transmission as he explained it. The difference between using the whole text to give the blessing, that one permits you to practice it. But if you have heard it from someone who has heard it, from someone who has heard it from someone that then has this unbroken link back to the source, then in theory, you are able to pass it on to the next person. So anyway, we frequently chant the Vajrasattva mantra in between sessions and breaks. So that's basically to purify. To purify means like to clear away. It's like if you have a piece of cloth and there are stains or smells on it, because the stain and the smell is not part of that cloth. So then it's possible to wash. So our faults, our mental defilements, our afflictive emotions, our kleshas, right? They are not part of the cloth. They are the stains, they are the smells, and so they can be removed. And so when we say purify, sometimes we say purify, 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 right? Sometimes we say purify like anger, right? Then especially in Vajrayana, some people think, I can still get to be angry, but now it's pure, So you can go around yelling at everyone and feel good about yourself. I'm not sure it works. Maybe some of you are powerful enough, it will work. But the basic meaning of purify is gone, The smell is gone. The stain is gone. The cloth is there, And the cloth is our basic nature. So Vajrasattva is that basic nature. That basic nature is, Vajrasattva means the indestructible, heroic being. So this is the personification of our Buddha nature, our clear nature. So that clear nature, these mental defilements, these faults, are only temporarily arising. And because they are temporarily arising, they can be cleared. But in order to clear them, as many of you already know, but good to remind ourselves, it's not just, singing away, Om Vajrasattva Samaya. Maybe it'll give some relaxation, Oh, the melody is nice, But until and unless we apply these four powers, these faults are not going to magically disappear because you have chanted Vajrasattva 100,000 times, So the four powers are really important. So the four powers is, first of all, the power of regret or remorse, So first of all, you have to recognize what those faults are. If you don't see faults for what they are, then you are not even going to get rid of it, right? Yeah, you're like, smell? What smell? And then nobody is coming close to you, because you've gotten so used to that smell, that stench, you don't even notice, but you do notice maybe people are not hanging out around you. So you have to recognize, oh yeah, this smells, this stinks, So have to recognize the faults for what they are. Otherwise, you're not going to have any regret. Most of the time, when we engage in these faults, we're very proud. I have a right to be angry. Yeah, you have a right to do whatever you want to do, but it's painful. There are faults. So then we need to have what we call regret or remorse, and say, oh no, that was really stupid. So that's the first power. Then the second power, I use my own translation to help me remember. I call them the 4 R's. So regret or remorse. Then the power of like refuge, like support. I think the more literal term, but refuge meaning. So the opposite of those faults are the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the 3 jewels. And in this context, Vajrasattva, the embodiment of these 3 jewels. And so we recognize that. So we say, I will rely on you as my reference point to become free of faults. Now, sometimes when we're working on freeing ourselves of the faults, it can get very heavy, and we might feel like it's not possible. So you need to know, no, it's possible. And not only that, those who have freed themselves from these faults, they can help us. Really, they can help us. Now, to tell the truth, I don't know if the one who can help me literally looks like Vajrasattva the way the Tankas paint them. Because I have not seen anyone like that walking around town. Yeah, so I'll be honest. Yeah, but these beings exist, so we can rely on them. We can be inspired to say, they exist, and I'll rely on this. In this case, it's Vajrasattva. Right? Then the third power is the power of remedy. The specific method you're using to clear this, to clean this. So in this case, the recitation of the 100-syllable mantra, including the visualization. A lot of details in the visualization, but mainly what the visualization is helping us to get to is a willingness to let it go. You cannot purify something if one hand you say you want to clean, the other hand you're like, I want to hold it. Then you're doing this, No matter how much this side pull back, So with the visualization, it says, right, the elixir comes in, goes into the body, and then flushes out everything. And some of us have a problem with visual images. We say, I cannot, doesn't feel natural. The visualization is to help us let it go already. Don't be so stubborn. Let it go. Let it go. Whatever that is heavy, whatever those faults are, time to let it go. So once you understand that's what the visualization is helping us to do, then the visualization is like the method, like suddenly it will just work. Why it doesn't work is because we don't really want to let it go. It's sometimes like you've become so familiar with this smell, You're afraid that if you let it go, you'll smell like something else that you don't recognize. So you have to let it go with the remedy. Then the fourth one is resolve. The resolve is about from now on, I will watch out for these kinds of faults. I will watch out for this kind of faults, and will make a resolve not to repeat this, not to repeat this. You're going to repeat, but that's okay. We keep working on it. Mainly is to break the habit. Habit is really strong, mainly to break the habit. So these are the four powers anyway. So when you recite the Vajrasattva mantra, please remember you have to apply these four powers. So we often open our practices with this, the recitation you find on page 1 in the Lion's Fount, not the Dakini Simhamuka Sadhana yet, but just to refresh our memory, to familiarize, we're going to say one time, page 1 and page 2 together. O Mother, sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path, and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. Establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. Thus, until I achieve Buddha, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds, body, speech, and mind. So this is respectively aspiration and action or engagement bodhicitta. These are words of Kyopa Jigten, founder of Drikung Kyobgon lineage. So just to point out quickly, at the end of page 1, right, with regards to all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, those who create obstacles on my path, with regards to them, so to all sentient beings, may they experience happiness. That is loving kindness, metta. And be separated from suffering. That's compassion. That's the definition of compassion. So these two are like the fuel, fueled by boundless and without bias love and compassion. What do we want to do? The third one, I will quickly establish them, raise them to the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. And how do you quickly raise them? How do you quickly help them to achieve this state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi? Is by yourself becoming Buddha. Yourself becoming a Buddha. This is a little different from what you might have read in your Introduction to World Religions book. They will say, oh, a bodhisattva is one who will not achieve enlightenment until all beings have achieved enlightenment. You can find references to bodhisattvas of that type in the sutras. Yes, of course. There are stories like that. There are some who say, I will not achieve Buddhahood until all beings have achieved Buddhahood. But that is what we call not definitive meaning. That's a interpretable meaning. Because if that is the case, right, I will not achieve Buddha until all beings have achieved Buddha, then nobody will ever achieve Buddhahood. It's infinite, right? So why are there stories like this? Stories like this are reminding us that that is how strong our love and compassion has to be. To the point of even saying something as illogical or absurd as, I'm not going to the Buddha until everybody is Buddha. So in terms of your resolve, it has to be so strong, that even if it means delaying my own enlightenment, I'll do it. But the actual process of becoming enlightened doesn't happen that way. So you should not say, oh, for the sake of all beings, I'm going to keep some confusion. For the sake of all beings, I'm going to keep some anger. I might need to use that to benefit beings later. Don't keep those things, don't worry about it. Every chance you have to get rid of mental defilements, you should. There's no qualities, no good can come out of the mental defilements. Yeah. So the actual process of waking up, of becoming a Buddha, is to clear, is to purify, is to be done with all these kleshas, ASAP. And so here we're making that commitment to achieve Buddhahood. And why? Why do we want to achieve Buddhahood? Because we cannot stand to see beings suffering, and we want them to be happy. And so that's the love and the compassion. Love and compassion. And then the third element is the resolve to become Buddha. So these three are said to be the three elements that is involved when we say relative bodhicitta. So this is the aspiration. Then the next one is the action bodhicitta. So here it has been translated as I will engage in virtuous deeds, right, with body, speech, and mind, from now until this time tomorrow, from now until death, from now until Buddhahood. Literally, the Tibetan here is ko. It's a very strong word. It means to bind. So you want to bind your body, speech, and mind, your mental, emotional, your verbal, and your physical actions to virtue. So that takes effort, You bind them together, you tie them together. So and then what kind of virtue are we talking about? We're talking about fundamentally the 6 perfections of Bodhisattva. The 6 perfections that Bodhisattvas train in. So these are the 6. Yeah? So that's the bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta in aspiration and action. Now let's look at the sadhana of the Dakini, Simhamukha. His Holiness wasn't feeling too well after lunch yesterday, actually, but fooled me. I couldn't tell. He gave the Dewe Dorje empowerment, and at the end, especially, he went into detail, giving the 4th empowerment with all the explanation. Then, the minute they got home, I got a message and said he was actually feeling nauseous the whole time, and he went straight to bed and woke up a few times in the night and threw up. But he's okay now. He's very strong, like physically. So I've seen him on many occasions. He like you and me, he catches cold. He has food poisoning, probably a minor case of food poisoning yesterday. but he recovers within 2 days. A flu, a cold. We were having this month-long transmission where it's a restricted transmission. Chemodrama was there, and more than the Dharma was transmitted through the 30 days, everybody was catching this nasty cold that was going around. Probably some COVID was going around, I'm pretty sure, but luckily everyone was fine, including His Holiness, like you could tell. But for about 2 days, I would say, then he's out of it and he's fine. So, but he's doing okay, but we want him to rest. Just some kind of background story to share. 2014 is somewhere around there. 12. Yes. He was quite ill, and for a year, practically nobody saw him because his older sister kicked in the mother protection and prevented everyone from seeing His Holiness for 1 year. And so that he could, recover. And but since then, 2013, then he has been nonstop, one place to another, to another, to another, to another. The longest break he has is like a week. Of course, COVID. Many bad things happened, but it was a good thing for His Holiness. But then the minute things improve, he was on the go, nonstop. The rest of us, his attendants, his secretaries, we all switch in and out. He is the only constant that goes. Halfway, we have to change another group because we're all exhausted, But he's nonstop. So anyway. So this sadhana of Dakini, Simhamukha, so as His Holiness explained briefly, he received this empowerment about 6 years ago from one of our senior lamas, Dongden Rinpoche. Dongden Rinpoche passed away maybe last year. And so then Dongden Rinpoche received it. Dongden Rinpoche is older than His Holiness, so that when the Chinese communists invaded China, and also Dongden Rinpoche was Ladakhi, so although he was in Tibet, he could officially fly out with an Indian passport. So, but he was older than His Holiness, so Dongden Rinpoche received a lot of the transmissions that His Holiness didn't get a chance to completely receive, because then the Chinese came, then Cultural Revolution came, and all of that. So anyway, 6 years ago, His Holiness received this, which was passed down from his previous reincarnation, Kyobgon Shive Lodro. So Kyobgon Shive Lodro gave to Angkon Rinpoche, the previous Angkon Rinpoche, Palo Rinpoche, previous Palo Rinpoche, now Palo Rinpoche, the current Palo Rinpoche is in his late 30s, something like that. I've met him a few times. Then the previous Palo Rinpoche gave to Dongden Rinpoche, and Dongden Rinpoche 6 years ago gave this empowerment to His Holiness. So the Shimchong Kawang, that month long, I think was the first time His Holiness gave this empowerment. This is the second time that he is given this empowerment. So during the Shimchong Kawang, the month long transmission, His Holiness was also giving the reading transmission, the long, of many, many texts, long and short. So then I found this text in Drikung Dhammakirti, Drikung Chodrak's collection. So then at the Kawang, I requested His Holiness, can you give also the reading transmission of this practice? So then he gave it there. Now he has given it here. So we can all practice this if you are inspired to do this practice. So here, if you look at the first page, it's a fairly straightforward sadhana. So I just want to point out a few things, and I'm assuming that most of you are familiar with the practice of sadhanas. So this is a Vajrayana practice of identifying with the deity, and the deity here is lion-faced Dakini. So perhaps, actually, on page 4 first, maybe. It says, on page 4 is this short praise of Lion Face. It says, Hri, chief mistress of the assembly of all mother Dakinis, lioness with the power of all exalted activities and siddhis, mistress of the entirety of the transcendent and mundane, I praise and pay homage to you, O great devourer. So she is the chief of the assembly of all mother Dakinis. So when it comes to Dakinis, there are fundamentally two types of Dakinis. There is the mundane Dakini. That means they are not liberated from confusion yet. And then there are the wisdom Dakinis. Wisdom Dakinis are part of the objects of refuge, part of Sangha. The inner Sangha is the Dakinis, the Dharmapalas. That's the inner Sangha. Then there are mundane Dakinis. Mundane Dakinis, in India, Dakinis, popular culture in India, Dakinis are what we call witches. But witches before Harry Potter. Not cool. Okay. After Harry Potter, different story, okay? Like scary. Like dangerous, magicians who are women. So those are like worldly Dakinis. Yeah? But she is the mistress, meaning she controls both the wisdom Dakinis and the mundane Dakinis. Mundane Dakinis can get things done, just like a lot of women, they can get things done, especially in Asia. Many places in Asia, the men just sit around. And but these Dakinis, the worldly Dakinis, they can get things done, So we need them, right? But to approach them, if you don't have some ability, then they turn into flesh-eating Dakinis. They'll bite you. So you have to be careful. But if you know their boss or their mistress, Simhamukha, then so that's why His Holiness said, if you can keep her mantra on you, then it's like having her business card, I don't know, you young people, what's business card? But the older people, we know what those things are, So if you have her business card, like her mantra, then her gang, they'll know, oh yeah, they know her. Yeah? So this is the, you have her mantra on you, then all these worldly Dakinis will serve you, so to say, right? So she has the face of a lioness. In the sadhana, it's often described as like having a white face, although the rest of her body is dark blue. But interestingly, so His Holiness mentioned that it's a tanka, a painted tanka that he has, that was given to him by Tongden Rinpoche, who got it from His Holiness's previous life, Shivelodro. I believe that tanka actually goes back to Dhammakirti, which is 17th century, the time of the 5th Dalai Lama. And that tanka, a picture of it is on the torment. Interestingly, Patricia, can you look on the, I think there's a little picture on the stand. It's lying down. It's been pulled up on the stand. Walk up, she won't bite. Do you see it? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so this is a little, I believe it's this tanka, because this was used, a picture of this was used at the restricted month-long transmission. But here she's actually blue, the face. And they say that Dhammakirti Drikung Kyobgon painted this tanka. So, yeah, anyway. Fabiola, where are you? Here, you can have this. She printed this and rescued us when we could not find a color printer. Yeah, that's yours now. So, but usually, yeah, white color, and our text also describes her as having this white colored face and dark blue, the rest of her body. So, in particular, like within Tibetan society, Tibetan culture, her practice is on the, I guess you call it the practical level, is to reverse and to turn back all sources of harm, like magical sources, like sorcery, like curses, and people like bearing a grudge against you, things like that. Like people thinking about how to harm you. Yeah? They really rely on Sendongma to turn back these things. So there is also a practice called the reversing of harm, Dokpa. So where they clap. So that's to reverse, to turn back. That's on the practical kind of mundane level of things. But ultimately, it is said that she is a manifestation of the Samantabhadri, the primordial awakened state, taking the form of a female form, Samantabhadri. That ultimately she is no different from that. So in that way, she is what we call a transcendent deity. She's a Buddha, but manifesting this kind of worldly form, a very fierce lioness face. Just as a side note, yeah, just because you see in some deity prayer saying, oh, you manifest from the Dharmakaya, and on the Sambhogakaya you're this, on the Nirmanakaya you're this. Yeah? Okay, those of you who know enough about Vajrayana, just because there's a prayer that says that, it doesn't guarantee that that deity is transcendent. You cannot just take some prayer and say, oh, see, it says he is manifested from the Dharmakaya, then he must be a Buddha, Because on the relative level, not necessarily. Yeah? Because not only is whatever the deity, right, manifested from the Dharmakaya, you also. Hitler's Dharmakaya and Shakyamuni's Dharmakaya, no difference. But on the relative level, big difference between Hitler and Shakyamuni. Make sure you pray to the right person, So to say, someone, oh, you manifested from the Dharmakaya is not yet, you need more evidence and proof. Yeah? Some of you know what I'm talking about. Yeah? There's some controversy about like Dharmapalas, who is not. Not enough to say, oh, see, this prayer says, when the great lamas write prayers for some deity and say, oh, you are from the Dharmakaya, it's actually the great lama reminding him, hey, behave yourself. Like we are constantly reminded, like we are from the Dharmakaya, so we have to act like one. But right now, no, like, don't pray to me. I can't solve your problems. I can't solve my problems, So just because, yeah. But in this case, we have evidence from many other sources. She is a wisdom Dakini. So the prayer matches even on the relative level that she is reliable. She is an object of refuge. So then no doubts, no worries about relying on her. But of course, in the Kadamba teachings, Lojong, especially there, still it reminds us, okay, she is transcendent. She is Buddha, right? But you, the one relating to her, can turn her into a demon if you have the wrong motivation. So that's another piece that we have to remember. So you also cannot say, well, she's transcendent. But if your motivation is not the transcendent motivation, then you will turn her into a demon, so to say. Lojong says, don't turn gods into demons, right? So we are not a theistic religion. We're not a God-based religion. And what does that mean? That means in our tradition, even if you are praying to Buddha Shakyamuni, but if you're praying to Buddha Shakyamuni to destroy your enemies, you have turned Buddha Shakyamuni into a demon. Then only negative karma can come from there. Not because Buddha Shakyamuni said, okay, now I have to go destroy some enemies for Han. Not because of that, but you have basically created a demon, so to say. You've given birth to a demon when your motivation is faulty. So just because that the object is manifested from the Dharmakaya on all levels, still our motivation is really important. So this practice says, after taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, then you start the sadhana. So taking refuge is to remember, who is it? What is it that we are using to understand what we are doing? The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We need to know that. So we take refuge. Then why? Out of bodhicitta. So we always start our practices with these two. Then from there, right, the emptiness mantra, Swabhava Shuddha Savadama Swabhava Shuddho Hang. That is the mantra of emptiness. Then it says in this translation, in the state of emptiness, frequently you see also from the state of emptiness, maybe more commonly, from the state of emptiness. English is not my first language. For that matter, then I don't really have a first language, I guess, because my baby language I cannot use to talk intelligently, which is Cantonese. Anyway, English is not my first language, but what I'm trying to avoid here from using from the state of emptiness is like, if from the state of emptiness is literally correct, but don't think of it as where you're from. I'm from Asheville, like where did you come from? I came from Asheville. So now you're no longer in Asheville. So it's not from the state of emptiness in that sense. Like remaining in the state of emptiness, which is the reality state of everything, from within that understanding, right? From within that understanding, then all this is happening, all this is unfolding from the bum syllable, all of that. And so whether you use from or within or in, remember that it's not that you come out of emptiness, that you have left behind emptiness. Emptiness now is somewhere over there. Now you're somewhere over here. But this is all happening within this state. And so then what is happening here is there are a lot of details here. We can spend a lot of time, but just very briefly, it's like from within this state, in this state of emptiness, then you appear, you arise. So this is called the creation stage, right? So here you're actively using your imagination. As we would say, you reimagine yourself. But there's a lot more going on. So for example, the moon sometimes could be referring to training in a way to perceive. Those two biological substances that came together for you to be conceived in your mother's womb, right? So the ovum and the sperm. So we have worldly, of course, understanding of what they are, but in training in creation stage, you are training to perceive that differently. So moon, sun. So the moon and sun, and then the syllable, sometimes in more detailed sadhanas, will have the syllable inserted between the two, and then from there arising the deity. So this is all methods for retraining our habits so that we begin to perceive the pure nature of things. But some sadhanas don't explicitly talk about sun, moon, sometimes only sun, sometimes only moon. When that happens, then it's emphasizing a particular quality of that deity that you're practicing. So if it is just moon, then maybe the deity is more about the compassionate aspect. If it is sun, maybe it's more of the wisdom aspect. But my point is that there are really layers and layers and layers. They're all the details that are in there. They're not like details just for the sake of details. They are like more subtle ways of refining, of clearing the confusions, clearing the obstacles. But it's good to start first with the analogy I use is, if you want a nice wooden table, the final work that is done is often the finest sandpaper to get the wood grain to show. But you cannot use that sandpaper to cut the tree, So now some simple sadhanas is like a chainsaw, then you cut the tree down. That's the first step. So we can start with a more general. And this one is fairly general. So Pam syllable arises the lotus. And that is to train ourselves to perceive differently the womb that we may enter in the next life, to perceive it as the lotus. This lotus that is free from stains, free from kleshas, free from all your concepts of nice, not nice, like, don't like, desire, don't desire, want to be in the womb, don't want to be in the womb. Purified of all of that, right? So here it has a moon and it has a sun, upon which is a corpse. So this corpse is self-grasping. So within the moon and the sun, the wisdom, the compassion and the wisdom, that then overcomes, right? Self-grasping the corpse, and then on the corpse, instantaneously, lion-faced Dakini appears. So it's pretty straightforward, I think. I don't know if we need to explain much. Okay, something that maybe I should say something about. Let's see what time it is. Oh yeah, not much time. I think maybe it's helpful. Some of you have already heard this recently, if you have attended some of His Holiness's programs further south of the border. Usually during the afternoon, I have been tasked with doing some of these explanations. So deity yoga, right, is what we're practicing. So you imagine yourself as this Buddha or that Buddha. Right? So then here's the question, right? What are you replacing? What are you undermining when you visualize yourself as deity? I'm not actually going to ask this question rhetorically, right? What are you undermining? What are you replacing? A lot of us, myself included, for a long time, even though intellectually I know that's not what's going on, But when I'm doing the deity visualization practice, we do it as if it's this that we're trying to get rid of. Yeah. You're like, no, I don't think of it that way. Yes, you do. Why? Because, right? Om swabhava shuddha savadhamma swabhava shuddha hang tom bang hang le, from the state of emptiness, la 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 la. And then now I am white Tara, right? Then you kind of look. Not yet. We all do that, No, not yet. Then some days you feel like, I am white Tara, and it's like, maybe I can improve it by doing this. Then next you're like, maybe I need to order some new clothing, put it on, and all of those is basically saying, we're trying to get rid of this. We're trying to replace this, including like, should I visualize facing this way, facing this way, facing that way, that way, that way, that way, right? So all of you have done this before. If you have not, I don't believe you. You sit here, you're shrine here, right? Some days you're like, maybe I should sit on the other side. Because we all think this is what we're trying to get rid of by practicing deity yoga, But no amount of you practicing deity yoga is going to get rid of this. I tried visualizing six packs. Never happened, okay? Yeah, whatever you try visualizing to improve your body, it's not going to improve it. Yeah, you have to go to the gym, you have to go to Korea and get your, cosmetic surgery. No amount of a visualization is going to change this. So this is not what we're trying to get rid of. This is not what we are undermining. So what are we undermining? We're undermining this mental grasping on a particular image. We all have a particular image of who we are. It could be your 16-year-old image, it could be your 42, it could be your 12, it could be, there's an image. And that image is associated with a whole bunch of stories. Both successes, failures, trauma, what you like, what you don't like, it's all that whole package. And that whole package is held together by a particular image. And it's usually mental, like a visual image. Yeah? Like Han looks like this, Laura looks like that, Bob looks like that. And that image with all the stories that go along with that image, that's what deity yoga is supposed to counteract. It's supposed to undermine, supposed to clear that away. Now you have a different image with a different set of stories. 32 major marks, 80 minor marks, right? All the characteristics and signs of a perfect Buddha. Then remember, for every of those signs, there is an inequality associated with that. The Buddha's tongue is so flexible, long, and wide that he can touch his forehead with his tongue. And he said that tongue, why it is the way it is because he has purified all deceptive speech, all lying on all levels, completely purified. So his tongue is like that. So for every of those, there is one Buddha quality associated. So 112 of these qualities. Then we say 10,000 qualities, right? So that's a particular story, that's a particular narrative, that's a particular set of values associated with that image. And that is what we're training to identify with. Why? So that we can undermine this other mental image and this other package of stories and narratives, failures, successors, things you're proud of, things you're ashamed of, all of that, held together by this mental image. That's what we are replacing. So I feel like once you understand that, you don't need to, wait, this is still here. Then you don't need to think about, should the deity be facing here, facing there, facing up, facing down? Because that's not where the problem is. This is not the problem. It's the mental image, and mental meaning also emotional, all the emotional triggers are wrapped up with this ordinary image. So we say that in the Sutrayana, ignorance is identified as the root problem, and in Vajrayana, right, ordinariness. What is that ordinariness? That ordinariness is referring to this, right? this image. And then we also have images of others, right, that we hold very tightly, actually. This person is like this, like this, like this, like that, looks like this, look like this, looks like that. So even after they have changed their hairstyle, whatever, you have a different mental image of them, somehow locked in some moment in time. Maybe when you first met them, or maybe they did something really shocking, then you remember that image, then you associate this person with that. All of that also to be replaced as deities. Then this is the Pure Land. And that's what we are counteracting. Page 1. Om Swabhava Shuddha Sarvadharma Swabhava Shuddhaham. In the state of emptiness, from a palm syllable arises a lotus, from a moon, and from a ram a sun, upon which is a corpse. On this seed you are lion-faced Dakini, dark blue. The lion face is white with 3 eyes, and wearing 5 dry skulls and jewels ornaments. Your matted hair is bluish in color and soaring upwards. Right hand holding a Katri, left with the blood-filled skull held in front of your heart, and under your arm you hoist a Trishula. You wear a flayed human skin as upper garment, a loosened cowhide skirt as lower garment. You have a necklace of 50 human heads and sagging breasts from Om in the forehead center, an Ah in your throat, and a Om in your heart. Imagine lights inviting the Jnana Sattva. With Eric here, I am self-conscious. I have to explain all my choices. More literally, the sadhana says "rang," like yourself, So in English, it's kind of very tricky how to translate, So here I've chosen you, your, you know. And oh yeah, Andreas is also here, so another translator. My choice of you, your, is still it's talking about you, yeah. So my choice of you, your is I like to think of it as like the guru instructing me, you know. You should do this, you should think this, you should this, you should this. Yeah. So anyway, that's why. So also, I mean, beyond that, to explain this so that you know, no, you're not telling someone else to visualize. Okay, yeah, it's yourself. So now the wisdom beings have been invited. So then you dissolve them into yourself with the next. Hom Ham Ho, the Samaya Sattvas and the Jnana Sattvas become inseparably one. The five Buddha families adorn your crown. Om Dhakini Simhamukha Saparivara Argyam Pratija Soha. Om Dhakini Simhamukha Saparivara Padyam Pratija Soha. Om Dharkini Simhamukha Saparivara Dhupe Pratishta Soha. Om Dharkini Simhamukha Saparivara Dhupe Pratija Soha. Om Dhagini Simhamukha Saparivara Aloke Pratija Soha. Om Dhagini Simhamukha Saparivara Gende Pratija Soha. Om Dhagini Simhamukha Saparivara Nevede Pratija Soha. Om Dhagini Simhamukha Saparivara Shabda Pratija Soha. Chief Mistress of the Assembly of all Mother Dakinis, Lioness with the power of all exalted activities and siddhis, Mistress of the entirety of the transcendent and mundane, I praise and pay homage to you, great to in your heart center is a dark blue hung on the sun, encircled by the 14 syllables, rotating to the right, shining and radiating lights, gathering all the power of all the assemblies of Sugatas and Gurus, Idams and Dharmapalas. Lights are then reabsorbed into the seed syllable in your heart. Imagine that the exalted activities of annihilating all enemies, hindrances, and agents of perversion are achieved. Om Akasam Harata Shadara Samaraya Pe Akasam Harata Shadara Samaraya Pe Akasam Harata Shadara Samaraya Pe Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Ped Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Ped Akasa Marata Shadarasa Maraya Ped Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Ped Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pe Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pe Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pe Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pet 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 Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pe 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 Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pet Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pet Akasha Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pet Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pet Akasha 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 Marata Shadarasa Maraya Pe. Host of ladies ablaze with wrath, reduced to dust, enemies and hindrances, and lead their consciousness into the Dharma to accomplish the four types of exalted So even though there's no explicit dissolution stage here, which is quite common with these very short sadhanas, you should now do the dissolution stage. So the usual dissolution is from the top of the form down to the center of the heart, and from the bottom, the feet up also, and dissolving from both sides until it's the mantras, in this case, the 14 syllables that is around this hung. The 14 syllables dissolve into the hung, then the hung dissolve from bottom up, first with the hook at the bottom, and then slowly upwards, upwards, upwards until the very top, the drop at the top, and the nada. Then in the notes here, at all times, let your body, speech, and mind be inseparable from deity, mantra, and samadhi. So this is the general instructions for the post-meditation state. As much as possible, remember your form, your story differently. Remember the mantra. And the samadhi is the samadhi of bodhicitta, to embody this stability of mind. There are many types of samadhis, that even within the Buddhist context, and there are many different types of samadhi, meaning stability of mind, of the different types that you should cultivate. But all samadhis can be summarized, according to Jigten Sungen, as the single samadhi. The single samadhi is bodhicitta, both the relative and the ultimate, to actualize that. And so all samadhis are the one, also called the Vajra Samadhi, the indestructible samadhi. So in that sense, it's the ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom aspect. But ultimate and relative are not two separate things. The expression sometimes, two sides of the same hand. It's like what is more obvious given the context. So the samadhi here is the samadhi of being Buddha, which is Buddha, as in the person, is the embodiment of bodhicitta. Another line from the Gongchik, the single intention. That what is the Buddha? Buddha is the embodiment of bodhicitta. So here it says, this was written down by Drikung Dhammakirti in response to the request of Sangjung. Then also included in Dhammakirti's collection is this feast offering of Simhamukha. So here it says, on any of the 8th, 10th, 15th, 25th, 29th, and 30th day of the month, if you wish to offer feast offering to lion-faced Dakini, arrange the torma, medicine, and rakta. So that's referring to the main food torma, then with basically these the medicine and rakta. Rakta is represented usually with like tea or sometimes alcohol. The medicine is milk and other offerings in front of a representation of lion-faced. Then the various types of flesh, grains, beers, and drinks. So typically, but that's not like, like let's go get a hamburger. The actual flesh that they talk about here are the flesh of the 5 types of animals, elephant, horse, human. So Kyobgon Jigten Sungen says, since the nature of all phenomena is empty, then anything can substitute for anything. And it says, if you're not powerful enough, better not deal with things that you cannot handle. So he says, just some food is good. Yeah? Same with the beer and drinks. Then after performing the self-creation of yourself as lion face, which is what we did, but before the dissolution, and after whatever achievement in the approximation and approach stage, which is approximation or approach stage is the stage of practice where you're still getting close to. That's what approximation, to get close to the deity, right? To have a taste of what the deity is, to be familiar with the deity. So you have to familiarize yourself with the deity. And the more familiar you are to the deity and therefore to becoming the deity, then you doing this feast offering is very helpful. On top of the mat of the feast substances, this mat often, in the past, ideally, they would use tiger skin. No, these days don't. They are disappearing too fast. So they buy these rugs in Nepal, with a tiger design. And so if you want, you can put your cho, on top of this. In the center is the beer. To its right is the meat, and towards the left are other cooked ingredients. So cleanse with fire, wind, and water, meaning Ram Yam Kam. So on page 8, repeat 3 times Ram Yam Kam. Yeah? No. I'm just reading here. Yeah, we don't have talk today, unless someone would offer their flesh. No, just kidding. So I'm just going to quickly go over there. Ram Yam Kam. So with Ram, you light a little piece of incense, while the flame is still there. Ram, fire. Yam is water. And so from the bumpa, you sprinkle water. Kam is the, Yam is the wind. Yeah, with the feather, peacock feather. Yam, Kam is the water that is washed. Then cleanse now with Om Banza Amrita Kundali, Anahana Hongpe. Then again the emptiness mantra. Then from there, it describes what actually that we are offering. Which, here it says human flesh in the center, cow flesh in the east, horse flesh in the south, dog flesh in the west, elephant flesh in the north. So here's the thing, Next, in the center on top is urine. Yeah. Southeast is feces. Rakta in the southwest, Bodhicitta in the northwest, Korochana in the northeast. Yeah. So you cannot choose, I'm going to have hamburger here, but I'm not going to have urine over there. So if you can't handle the urine and the feces as part of your feast, then maybe don't have a pile of hamburgers. I don't know. You decide, okay? So this visualization here, so this is purifying. These substances are, for most people, these substances are completely unclean. Particularly in Indian culture, the 5 flesh is very unclean. Most cultures, human flesh, also, right? But the other things, like the cow, they are very unclean in the original Indian context. And so it's saying here, all these things that we habitually perceive to be unclean. This is like a very, yesterday we were talking about this radical, that fancy word these days, right? Radical dharma, radical this, radical that. You want to be radical? Try a concoction of the 5 fleshes and the 5, nectars. So this is to transform our ordinary perception. So especially in Drikung Kyobgon, we say, if you don't have the power to do this, then you offer that which is delightful to the senses. You offer that which is delightful to the senses. Because here it says, you purify all of this until then they become delightful to the senses. But if you don't have yet the ability, then maybe, don't cause harm that way. Yeah. Then Om Ahong Hahori, to bless. Then the next part on page 10 is to offer so from the palace of Akanishta, the sphere of reality, please come here, old root and lineage gurus, because you're going to offer to them. And then from the palace of the natural expanse, please come here, O lion-faced, and your Dakinis and the heroes, the males, Dakinis, the Dakas, and others. From the pristine realm of the 10 directions, please come here, O oceans of oath-bound ones. These are the Dharmapalas. Remain here to partake of this Ganachakra offering, grant the common and sublime cities. Then with the next mantra, you offer. Gurudeva Dakini, Simhamukha, Saparivara Ganachakra Puja Kahi. And so then you offer. Then the second portion is offered on page 12. Confused and diluted thoughts of self and other, unclear creation stage, impure mantras, Tao, Samadhi, and impaired torments, whatever faults that have arisen, please bear with me. With these feast offerings, fulfillment, and confession, please bestow the pure accomplishments. So the second portion here is offered to amend for our mistakes, our negative karma. So to repair our relationship with lion face. It's not that lion face get offended and then walked away, It's the distance that we put between us and her. So we are offering this to make up for that distance, to be close again. Then 100-syllable mantra. And then at that point, after the 100-syllable mantra, it doesn't say here, but at that point then you at that point, you enjoy the talk. Actually, final portion, sorry, on page 13. This is a little bit different from the final portion of the Gana Chakra. This is particular to this practice. It says here, summon and induct the flesh-eating demons into the dough effigy. So that's talking about. So if you know how to make, you make this dough effigy. If you don't know, you have a fruit or something, like a pear. Then Hong I am Simhamukha, the heart essence of wrath radiates and reabsorbs. Activity matrikas. Matrikas are the mothers. Emanate like stars, holding hooks, nooses, shackles, and bells. By brandishing the bell and so forth, they draw in, make, enter, bind, intoxicate the enemies and hindrances, making them fall like wooden puppets. They send a rain of ritual weapons laced with disease and poison, and slay with the gathered Vajra weapons. Into the mother, the consciousness is dissolved. And so you think, all these obstacles, hindrances, troublemakers, they're all dragged into the effigy, into the fruit. Then they are slayed. It's like a sacrifice. But you don't actually go sacrifice someone. You draw them into this effigy or into this fruit, right? Then cut, have a knife and cut this as part of the talk. Then into the mother, the consciousness is dissolved. The mother is the Dharma Dhatu. That means back into our basic nature. So now here sometimes, like especially in Dharmapala practice, we say, oh, please destroy the enemies, please destroy the hindrances, like pour wine, water, tea, whatever, I remember, one time doing this, maybe some problems, whatever, destroy the enemies, destroy the obstacles, destroys the obstructors. And then I say, wait a minute, what if I'm the obstructor? What if I'm the troublemaker, like So be careful what you ask the Dharmapalas to destroy. Okay? So be careful what you ask for. Because sometimes, a lot of the times, right, we are the source, right? This is basic Buddha's teachings. We are the source of our suffering. We cause the trouble. Yeah? So here, really, slaying is to slay our pleasures, like invite them to come eat and devour, to suck out the blood of confused existence. So that's really what we should think of. Then dissolve into the mother, the consciousness is dissolve. That's poa. That's poa. That's also like chut, chut begins with poa. You eject your consciousness out, you cut the head off, turn it into a feast. Then the mantra, the basic mantra plus some other words, harm bringers, enemies, and hindrances, Ja Hong Bam Ho, Satum, and so on and so forth. So here, then you continue. Ho, blazing devourer. So another offering is more descriptive on page 15. Chim chim, enjoy eating the flesh. Chip chip, enjoy drinking the blood. True to enjoy chewing the bones. Kahi kahi karam kahi. So offer everything, right? And then you partake of the Ganachakra. Then the leftover is on page 16. Sprinkle the collected leftover with the medicine and the rakta. Bless by reciting the Akaro mantra 3 times. And then the offering, the words, Ho, although born from the mantras, the fields, and so forth, yet you are nothing but transcendent. You assembly of matrikas appearing in worldly forms, enjoy these leftovers that are handed down, pacify the obstacles of yogis, and accomplish the wishes that accord with the Dharma. And then this is, the leftover are taken outside. Again, this was by Chugidapa. A very short practice. You can recite the mantra more than 7 times. You don't have the power of Varilotsawa. He had certain powers, so his samadhi was strong. Then this mantra more than 7 times could cause, some problem. But you, me, maybe no need to worry so much. Yeah, don't kill your guru accidentally. So let's do dedication. If you have the other book, The Lion's Fount. So you think of, all the merit that has been gathered, especially with his visit of His Holiness here, the consecration of the land on Friday, and then all the empowerments and the bodhicitta vow yesterday, bodhicitta vow today, and the empowerment and the gathering of all of us here, the merit that is generated, particularly also all the people who work very hard to make this a success. Naming names is treacherous because you forget this name or that name, then you create suffering. But many of you worked very hard to make this possible. So we think of all of that, we gather all of that merit. Then beyond that, we also think of all the merit, all the good, in other words, all the good that has been created in the world, in the past, right now, in the future, all the good that exists. It says you collect all of them together. including the good of all the Buddhas, and the good, the merit of all the particular Buddhas, the Arhats, and all the practitioners on all levels of attainment, all the good, and then beyond, people who know the Dharma, don't know the Dharma, all the good that exists in the world, you collect all of them together, and now you dedicate with these following words. And the words are, can change this, that, but the main point is, may all the good in the world be dedicated to the freedom from suffering, the attainment of happiness, and the complete liberation of all beings. So that's what the dedication, the spirit of the dedication is. And then now we have some words that we repeat. Great Vaja Dhara Tilepa Naropa Marpa Milarepa Dharma Lye Gampopa Pamodupa and Conqueror Drikung. Please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessings of all you Kagyu Gurus. By this merit achieve the all-knowing state. May all who wander on the waves of birth, sickness and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating enemies of faults and by the virtues collected in the 3 times in samsara and nirvana, and the innate virtue, and in the primordially co-emergent of the mind, may I realize the exalted intention of Jigtengo, the indivisibility of the 2 truths in the exalted form. Jatara, in all lifetimes, may I never be separated from the perfect Gurus. The richness of the glorious Dharma, having thoroughly perfected the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain of Vajradhara. May the 80,000 classes of obstructors be pacified, thus freeing this place from unfavorable and harmful conditions. May harmonious and excellent endowments be established, and with this auspiciousness bring about bliss and happiness. May there be well-being in the world, much yield of grain and flourish of Dharma. Auspiciousness be established in all places. Wish for fulfill, may the collections, conditions, for ourselves and others be fulfilled according to our wishes. May the multitudes of diseases, evil spirits, obstructors, hindrances, and others be at peace and pacified. Where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. For the excellent health of the Gurus, may the Guru's supreme life belong. May the Guru's activity spread far and wide, and may I be blessed not to be separated from the Gurus. Just as heroic Manjushri knows everything as it is, San Samanta Bhadra, who is thus as well, so too path and perfectly dedicate all the virtues accumulated through this dedication, praised as supreme by the conquerors I dedicate all of these roots of virtue to accomplishing the noble deeds by the blessings of the Buddhas who have attained, by the blessings of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessings of the indivisible Sangha order. May these dedication and aspiration prayers be accomplished. May the teachings of the great Drikung Kyobgon, the all-knowing Dharma Lord, Master of interdependence, continue to increase contemplation and meditation until the end of samsara by the truth. Send the blessings of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and by the great might of the complete to accumulations, and by the strength of the completely pure and inconceivable Dhatu, may this be attained accordingly by the virtues collected in the 3 times by me. Samsara and Nirvana, may I and all sentient beings, the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi, by the blessings of the truth, Kagyu Gurus, the excellent 3 Idams, Dakinis, may the spiritual and temporal places of the tradition of the second Nagarjuna flourish, whatever harmful discord and faults, may they be pacified, and may there be abundant prosperity and happiness by the power of the virtues collected in accordance with the realizations of the unmistaken teacher. May the teachings of Rana Shri of Drikung, the protector on the 10th, flourish perpetually. Tangchu Sem Chorim Poche Ma Ke Pa Na Ke Gyurchi Ke Pa Nyam Pa Me Pa Ya Bon Le Gong Du Bel War Shu. I wasn't thinking of doing this, but now I am. If you don't have, and if you do want, again, you know, like often at these occasions, things are handed out, then you take, then after that, you're like, I don't know what to do with it. So perfectly okay if you decide, no, I don't know what to do with it, then don't, you know. This is basically a locket. On one side is, again, that same image of the statue of Jigten Sungen that was made in his lifetime. Very special image. So on one side is that, and then on the other side is the picture of a statue of the great-grandmother of the founder of the lineage, who is a special Dharma protector called Achichoki Droma. So this is, we made this some time back. So if you want, I'm happy to give to you, but don't feel obligated to take it. So basically we are done. Yeah, thank you to all of you. Thank you to everyone. May we gather again when His Holiness come back to the United States, wherever he is going. If he is not here, we go and see him wherever he goes. So make that aspiration. Who knows where it will be next time, but may we gather again at that point. And then at the very least, May we gather again under the Bodhi tree, where His Holiness will teach, wherever that Bodhi tree is going to be in whatever lifetime. So, yeah, that's it. If you're local, you know where Urban Dharma is. Come visit us, come hang out, come help if you have time and interest. Otherwise, just go and drink coffee or tea. There's always coffee and tea, coffee, French press makers, all of that. It's free. Please go. We're open 2 to 5, Monday to Friday. And we're able to do that because of local volunteers offering to spend time there to make the temple available to everyone who needs to be in there from 2 to 5, Monday to Friday. Otherwise, in the evening, we have all kinds of activities taking place there. Not just our Drikung tradition, other traditions are also meeting there. We're in such a small place, right from the beginning when we started the center. So that's why the center, some people were wondering, how come the center doesn't have an explicit Drikung Kagyu name for the center? It's because we're in such a small town, it's not necessary to have, this is Drikung. But we need a public Buddhist space. When so some history, I came to this area, I never knew this area existed. Because my first job as a college professor was on this campus. So I taught here for 5 years. I lived just down the road. For 5 years I was here. And in many ways, Urban Dharma started here. Because the student group, my second year here, the students came to me. I didn't give them the idea. They came to me and they said, we saw that His Holiness the Dalai Lama is doing a program down in Miami, Florida. We want to go, but we cannot go unless a faculty member leads us. Yeah. So then they wanted to go. I said, okay. So eventually we have like 3 cars, driving down for 12 hours to Miami. And maybe some of you were at that teaching. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we went, and then on the way back from Miami, they say, we want a Buddhist group. We want a Buddhist group. We want a Buddhist group. And so then they started the Buddhist group. And from there, the Buddhist group grew, so much so that the most active group on campus was the Buddhist group. People from town were coming to attend the meetings. Eventually, there was one dormitory, a whole floor was the Buddhist dormitory. So the Buddhist students live there, and there's daily practice and all of that. And then I left. And the Buddhist group continued for a while. Then Urban Dharma started a few years after I left Asheville, actually. So some of the people involved in the student group, they are here. John continued after I left and helped the group continue. Joe was one of the people involved right from the beginning. Meima, where are you? Oh, there. Meima is the library faculty here. So she was one of the people from the very beginning. Then Judy came and joined us after she went on a trip to Tibet that the college organized and had me lead to Tibet. So Judy then joined our group. Laura Herman, are you here? Yeah, so Laura worked at Warren Wilson. She was my neighbor in the same building across from me. Turns out that the building should have been condemned long time ago. So we have a potential lawsuit at some point. No, like black mold. Literally, like after I left, immediately they condemned the building. And then the house that I lived in was condemned after that. Oh, then it became this fancy building. Yeah, then it became this fancy building. Yeah. Then the house that I lived in was condemned not long after I left. Well, nothing to do with me, okay, just to be clear. I didn't cause the condemnation, but anyway. Yeah, so then Urban Dharma sort of started here. So like a full circle, His Holiness comes here to give this empowerment. Yeah. So things are quite magical, and just kind of we start noticing, and it's like quite magical. But don't notice too much, okay? Then it makes you crazy. Religious people are prone to being delusional. So don't do too much of that either. Yeah, so if you can.
Who would have ever thought of, back then?
Oh, yeah, yeah. All of this, started here. Yeah, yeah. Who would have thought, So Warren Wilson has been very kind to us. Yeah, so if you can, we have to break down the shrine, the space. That will be a lot easier if you lend a hand. The chairs, we don't have to do anything. So we rented the space and they'll take care of this. We just need to take our things out of here. And then last chance, if you didn't get those texts over there you like, especially the Becha text, it's by donation. You can, so His Holiness gave the transmission of the text during the blessing. So you can take for others if you think they will use. Then this sadhana is available. You can take if you can help us pay for the cost of printing this. And again, like even to this day, very last minute, we printed all of this, like 100 copies of one, 150 copies of one. The college printing press took the project and printed for us, and then we paid them for it. Okay? They didn't have to do it, but they did, thanks to Mei Ma having a very good relationship with the printing press. And so these are the. Okay, we're done. And if you want, please. Oh, Nathan. Yeah.